This topic of lamb to lion is probably something all of us have faced at some point, because after many births, I suppose, of putting ourselves down to the basic characteristic of the path of devotion, we put something or someone on an altar and we put ourselves down. Like Baba says in the Maulis that there's this the soul go in front of the idols of the deities and say, you have all of the virtues and we have none. In a similar way that Catholics, I don't know if they do it in other parts of the Christian church, but definitely this idea that in Latin they used to say "mi culpa, mi maxima culpa." That means, and they would beat their chest that this is my fault. It's my big fault. So people blame themselves for coming down the ladder. They blame themselves for their own downfall, and in a way, it's true, because we, in our interaction with others and our interaction with matter, we ended up creating loss for ourselves. And in that state of loss, we try to get out of it by searching for people, searching for things, searching matter, searching relationships. And nothing we did actually worked. And the soul knows that subconsciously. The soul knows that it was not able to sort things out as it wished. So if you look at every single individual, whoever and whatever they're doing, they're trying to somehow get back to what they used to be. And because basically it's been a continuous and gradual loss of spiritual power and purity and so on, that the soul has got to a state where it knows internally that it does not have the power and the strength to do what it wants to do. And of course, that's where being naturally courageous comes in, because people, if you are courageous in this world, it's probably dangerous for people. They think that it's courageous to climb up a mountain, it's courageous to take on these crazy sports that are around. It's courageous to take up a new job. It's courageous to get married even. So what people tend to do is they wait and see. In fact, I saw because I've worked in my life a lot with leadership in different contexts, it's like the result of a study that I saw. Very, very few people. The question was, would you like to become a leader? Very, very few people signed up for this. Most people prefer to be a follower. Unfortunately, they'd like to be, but they can't, or they don't have the courage to take up the responsibilities involved. So we've got this dilemma. On one side, we have our own challenges and our own preferences. And on the other side, we have Baba as well. Baba is the almighty authority. And if we look at just theoretically, imagine, I remember meeting Baba. I met Baba personally many times, maybe more than 80, 90. We actually lost count of how many times we met Baba personally. I'm talking about the late 70s. Just beginning of August, Charlie and myself celebrated 50 years in Gyan. So when we came, we would meet. Bubba was sort of excited. We were the first foreigners. But Bubba doesn't get excited, but it was different. And so every time, and we would stay in those late 70s, early 80s, we would stay maybe 2, 3 months in Matapan. And Bubba would come every 2 or 3 days. So, and every time he came, he would meet the few foreigners that were there. And so many, many meetings with Bubba. And let me just describe to you how that feeling was. I think there's a lot of, the whole search comes up, I suppose, in the Sanskars. Especially Baba says, so you've come home, so we meet again. Have you met Baba before? And then he would remind us, yes, we met last cycle. Baba told me personally, and also in the several mulis, Baba said to me, you've arrived. You don't need to search anymore. You have come home. This is your home. So that's feeling of being welcomed on one side, and internally the doubts about, is this real? Is this really happening? Of course, the internal feelings was, yes, it's a real encounter with God. This is not an illusion. This is really happening. So when I first came, and in fact, I came to the Centre in London, when I came along, and I really had the feeling that I'd been with these souls before. So I really felt part of the whole thing. And then I met Baba the first time. Baba said to me, I told him that I was on my way back to Australia. I'd come into Ghani, London, and I was going back to Australia to help in the service there. And Baba said, yes, it's good, you go, but you're going to come back again here with a bouquet of souls. And I did not know what that meant. What is a bouquet of souls? But when I got to Australia, I saw it. I had that feeling that Baba was with me, and I was really excited to help in the service that actually had only started in April of 1975. That's why this year Australia celebrated their 50 years of service. And I arrived there in November 1975, and everything had finished. Everything had closed down. Actually, there was Sister Dr. Nimla was there, but she was in the process of closing things down. The brother who started service had gone back to the UK. The other sister who was there had been asked to go to Germany to help start service there. And so Dr. Nimla was alone, and her visa was running out. She had a 6 months visa, I think. Well, and she had got it extended, so April to November, more or less, or May. She came in May, and so 6 months, and she had to leave. And so she asked me, can I look after the thing until she comes back? And I had that feeling that she's not going to come back. And it was true. She really only came back in 1978, so 3 years later. And she came back with Daddy Janki to stay. And 79, Daddy G asked me to go to Brazil. I was asked to go. It wasn't my idea. So the thing is, I had a problem. And this was very interesting. And this is where the whole thing of being a sheep or being a lamb and then becoming a lion, I think all of us have that possibility within us. But it's only circumstances that make it happen. So I grew up in a very small town that was surrounded by forests and mountains and an ocean. And the town only had 300 people. And I did not like big cities at all. They made me feel sort of completely claustrophobic. And so I thought, I had the feeling with time I found a new center. People would say, wow, you are courageous. You are starting things as if there was nothing. And there wasn't any people around. The service that they'd done sort of faded away. There were a couple of people coming along to the center when Didi Nimula left, but basically I was alone. And I had this incredible, I would say, blessing from Baba to find people to give the message. And there was another factor too. I came from a small town. I hated big cities. And that was, in a sense, it was like I felt completely sort of pressed in from all sides. If you've ever lived in the countryside and then you've gone to live in a city, in this case, Sydney had 5 million people. And I had studied there, but I didn't like it at all. And another factor, this is something that was a bit sort of crazy, because when we came to Baba in 75, everyone in the Yug believed that the world would be destroyed in 1976. And it was actually a misunderstanding of something that Baba said. And in that, Baba had said they were trying to build something in Delhi, and this was in 1967. And Baba said to everyone, but there were some problems with the deal of buying the land. And Baba said, well, it doesn't matter. We only need it for another 9 years anyway. So people added up 1967 plus 9 is 1976. Aha, the destruction is going to happen in 1976. So imagine I'm there in a place that I didn't like the city, the amount of people, and not only that, the destruction is going to happen next week. So can you imagine how I felt? I started the centre in downtown Sydney, where I thought, well, this is where most people will be. If there's more people, then we can do more service. So I moved to a place near the university, near Sydney University, just a few blocks from the university, and started a centre. Very soon that place became too small. And we decided to move to another house, a bigger house, a double-story house. And that also became too small. And then we got the building next door. And so there was a whole little community starting to happen. And this at the same time, just figured these are the ingredients of by nature, I was very, very quiet. I'm a very quiet person. I don't like confusion. And therefore I didn't like big crowds. And in those days too, there were no moolies. So imagine, destruction is going to happen. I'm in a place that I don't like, and there are no moolies because the system of translating moolies and printing them into English only started after Dadiji came to Australia in 1977. And she asked, so what are the moolies that you read? And I said, we don't have, they don't exist. And Jentiben was with Daddy G in this visit. She was visiting because she was curious. This was the first non-Indian centre in the world. They had not prepared for this. Everything was in Hindi. There were some books, but the books were all written in Indian English. And there were no moolies. But there was an incredible power of yoga. We had such powerful yoga because after all, the destruction is going to happen this year. This is what we thought. And the Baba's service had to spread out. We had to give the message as fast as possible to as many as possible, and many start to come along because of the love for Baba and because of Baba's presence. And even though the destruction did not happen, and that's another story, at the beginning of 1977, Baba came and he said, I had never said that the destruction was going to happen in 1976. But I allowed you to continue thinking that because, and this Morley is sort of, it's hard to find. I couldn't find, but I remember Baba saying, Baba said, I let you believe that the destruction was coming because I wanted to see who was with Baba because of love for Baba and who was with Baba because of fear of destruction. And it's true, many people, I think, maybe 20% of everyone after the destruction didn't happen, they disappeared. So it was a big cleaning out, I suppose. Baba wants to see who's with him for love. And this is what I wanted to share with you because it's out of our love for Baba that naturally we can face things that others wouldn't even think about. Baba has guaranteed that he's with us. And so even though there were no Murlis, we had a fairly good understanding of the basic Gyan. In fact, in those days, we actually developed a lot of the material which became the 7 days course that we give in the West. For example, this idea of the cycle of the self, mind, intellect, sanskars, and so on, that came to me in Amrit Bela in those days, and I just put it down on paper. I was writing. I wrote this book called New Beginnings, which was actually just for me to help me to understand things, and that people saw it and they said, yeah, this is good. We should do something with it. But we were very, I would say we were very lone. The nearest center was about 10,000 kilometers away. The first non-Indian center, I don't know if it was the first brother center, but certainly the first brother center in the West. And just was Baba, and Baba. And everything was so easy, everything. We had no idea about service. And again, this is an act of courage. How to attract big crowds. And because I thought that the most boring way in the world to give a message is to organize a public talk. So because of my background in music and different arts, I wrote some musicals. And so we did, I think, 3 in those early days in Australia. We did 3 big musical productions, with dancing and choreography and art and acting and songs and music. Was absolutely fantastic way to get the family gelling. And at the end of that first year, when I went to Madhaban, I had 16 Brahmins with me, the first group from Australia. And so people were saying, you are so courageous, you are so courageous. I didn't think it was at all courage. It seemed to me to be the natural thing to do. And so I had this feeling that with Baba I could do anything. I was never really interested in becoming, developing my career to the extent that it would absorb me, because Baba told me directly, do as much as you can. Even Dadiji told me, I had the chance in those early days, I had the best job. I was working in a laboratory in research and development. I'd studied industrial chemistry. And so I had a really good job. And so there was a chance of a big promotion around the time that Daddyji was visiting in 1977. So I said, Daddy, look, I've got this chance to earn 40% more. Should I take up this job? And she asked me, will it involve more time being away from the centre? I said, probably. She said, don't think that you are the one that has to support everything. Because I was very happy, I'm going to earn more money and I'll be able to help Baba more, or help the service. In those days, I was the only one living in the centre because I'd given up all of the space in the house for the centre, and I was living on the balcony. Actually, the balcony was about 4 meters by 2. That was it. That was my room. The rest of the house, a big house, was for everything else. For Baba's service. So I had this really incredible feeling that Baba is always there for anything we needed. Everything seemed to flow so easily. So where was courage in that case? It wasn't really courage. It's just, I guess, stepping up for what you believe. And when Didi Nimla came back to Australia, Daddyji asked me to go to Brazil. And again, what am I going to do in Brazil? I didn't even think. I did not even think. But Daddy, I don't have money. What am I going to do for work? I don't think I'll be able to work there, because when you go to a foreign country, you normally have to do further studies in that language to come up to date. And since I worked in the field of chemistry, there would be a lot of catching up to do in another language. I didn't want to do that. So, but I didn't think like that. Daddyji asked me. Next day I go to Baba, because Baba comes every second day in those days. This was in 1979. And the meeting, if you can imagine, the meeting with Bap Dada was in Baba's room. You know, in those days it was much smaller than it is now, because they broke down 2 walls to make the present Baba's room in Pandap Bhavan. But in those days it was just a normal sized room. It's where Brahma Baba slept. His bed was in the corner, and there was a photo there and a sort of a table beside the bed, and that's it. So he met them. We must have been about 15 people in the room. And Baba, I said to Baba, Baba, you want me to go to Brazil? And Baba says, yes, you go. So I can imagine how I felt. There's Baba himself saying, go. How do you think I felt? How do you think I felt? So this thing is that if Baba's with us, it's not really a question of courage, because it's his power. But if Baba's not with us, there's no power. So then it may be a question of trying to be more courageous. This whole idea, in another aspect that I learned along the way, was I was still in Australia, and this was in 76 when I went there with that first group, 76, 77 season. So early 77, they'd organised a big conference in Bombay called Divinize the Man. And I had experience giving public talks. I was a student activist at university. Protests, and I could easily speak in public. In fact, when I was only 10, I used to participate in debates with 10 years old. So I had a lot of experience in public speaking. And so they asked me if I'd like to give a talk at this big conference. There were 2,000 people in the audience. And you know what happened? Luckily, there was a podium. You know, those things that someone who's speaking at a conference stands behind with a microphone on the stand. And luckily, the podium was there because my knees were shaking. They were bashing, and I was completely nervous. And then I understood what it was. We can easily speak about things which are not true or things that are sort of superficial. But to speak the truth, I really have to be practicing it. So that occurred to me when I was standing in front of the 2,000 people. I was so nervous. I couldn't believe it. We could talk about useless things without any problem, but when we're talking about Baba's Gyan, it's a responsibility. So coming from lamb to lion, because he's with me. So I came to Brazil with I only had $200 with me. After coming back from India to Australia, I worked for 2 months, no less, 1 month. And with that money, I was able to get a ticket, and there was even $200 left over. So I arrived in Brazil with Baba. I didn't have anything else. I didn't know how I was going to live. I didn't know how I was. In fact, the offer from the brother there was that I will support you for 3 months, but then you're on your own. So that was the offer. So I said, yes, I can do it. Baba's with me. Why not? And everything became magical. So everything happened. The context came, the people came, the cooperation came, and I had to learn the local language. Hardly anyone speaks English in Brazil. Hardly anyone. So I made an effort to learn the language, and in fact, after about a year, I was speaking quite well. I didn't do any formal lessons. I just learned the language by listening and repeating, and I was also tired of being translated because you say something with so much feeling and so much emotion, but the translator doesn't necessarily put that same feeling into what they translate. So I was feeling a bit sort of constrained by translators. So I said, yes, I should learn the language. Why not? And then I had to learn Spanish as well, because Baba, all of this time in the meetings in Madhuban, he would say, do this, go there. He said, just in over about 5 or 6 different meetings, he told me, make a strong centre like London. Put the local people in front because they know their country. You will always be a foreigner. That's what Baba said to me. You will always be a foreigner there. Put the local people in front as soon as you can. Don't keep yourself tied down in one place. Keep moving around and opening centres here, there, and everywhere. Maria said 30 centres, but actually it's more than 80 or 90 in all of Latin America, not just South America. So Baba told me to go to the capital cities of these nearby countries, get service happening there. And so, I mean, I remember those days. For example, I went to one city, I went to their main newspaper, and I just said, can I speak to one of your main reporters? And they said, yes, okay. And I said, look, I'm from Australia. I've come to this place to teach meditation. Can you interview me? And I think they were very surprised. It's like you go straight there and you say, can you interview me? That's not the way you do things. But the people were so surprised that they did it. They would take photos and, write things down. I think it's Baba's presence that makes us have, feel this, I suppose. So there's a obviously fearlessness is because we know who it is that is with us. And we know that Baba is going to fill in for us, in a sense. If many times Baba has to make up for what we lack, for sure. I've seen that. So you imagine if Baba's with me and getting things done, why would I be afraid of anything? And so everything I could see in service that happen, all of the doors that open up and all of the things, this feeling of Baba being with me is so strong that I come to not even question it. Later on, I wrote books, and they were published in many different languages. But one of them was because they were connected with self-development and organizational development, the people from human resources in the companies would contact me. Can you come and give a talk? Can you come and meet us? And I ended up going to one of the big international conferences that they hold every year in some part of the world, International Conference on Human Resources. This one was in Mexico. And so Baba said, where does Baba take me? Here I am standing in the front of thousands of people talking about spirituality in this context. And but Baba's with me, you see, so why would I be afraid? I remember arriving in this big auditorium in Mexico City, and I was talking to the president of the National Association of Human Resources from Mexico, who were the hosts. And I was on the program to give a talk, one of the main talks in the big auditorium, and I also was on the program to conduct a workshop. So I asked the president, where is the workshop? Because normally in these sorts of conferences, you have the main program and you have lots of parallel programs. So I thought, let me see where it is that I have to give this workshop. I have to check it out. And he said, no, the workshop will be in this big auditorium. What do you mean in the big auditorium? A workshop? Because workshop means interactive. And I said, but how many people are in the workshop? He said 3,000. I said, wow. But then I think, immediately my thinking is, Baba has brought me here, so Baba will get it done. And I had an image. I sat down to meditate, and I remembered a painting we've got in our center in Sao Paulo, where you have Krishna dancing with lots of gopis, about 12 gopis dancing around, and Krishna's dancing with every single one of them. So while I was sitting there meditating, I thought, Baba, is this what you want me to do? You want me to dance with every single one? And that image really gave me such inspiration. I could do it. Otherwise, I was thinking, what am I going to say to 3,000 men? How can I keep their attention in an interactive workshop with 3,000 people? But of course, Baba is there. He will get it done. So I've come to not question the situations that I find myself in. We've got another 5 minutes. I just want to talk about something, and then we can open up for questions. But the sorts of behaviors that we have that stop us from doing this, Baba talks about signals of a lack of courage. They're called signals in our world. They're not called really defects, but we can understand that if I'm avoiding people, It means that I don't have too much confidence in myself. A lack of self-respect is there. If there's negative self-talk, I'm trying to bring myself back down again. I'm trying to justify ordinary behavior or even negative behavior, and I talk myself into believing that. And I have come to understand this in Latin America. The last few weeks, we've developed a program for efforts, very simple, to give attention to the sense organs. So the week before last, all of us were concentrating on the use of the eyes, because Baba says so much how much we fall down through our eyes. Last week was about our ears and how do we use our hearing? What do we hear? What do we listen to? How do we spend our time? We listen to them more accurately as well. And this week it's all about the mouth. And the mouth is used for two reasons, like for communication and also for nutrition. And I've come to understand that there are basically two types of sanskars. Some of them have been created through the use of the sense organs, and we've come to make our mistakes because of those. And as many mistakes we make, that's how much we lose our self-confidence. So we go back to being a lamb rather than a lion. It's easier to be a lamb. Everyone loves lambs, but people are afraid of lions, right? You don't see too many furry little animals that people keep on the beds. You'll find lambs, but you don't find many lions, right? People like cuddly sort of teddy bear types of toys. But in this case, Baba has showed us that we've built up through the use of our senses a wrong sort of relationship with matter and a wrong sort of relationship with others, which, as long as that continues, we suffer. And because we suffer, we don't have maybe the power. If there's suffering, we're losing power. It's like there's been a hole in the soul. Suffering is like a hole in the soul. And so a lot of stuff that we build up, a lot of the power goes away, and suddenly we're in a situation we don't have the power to face it. But so that type of sanskar, which is the use of the sense organs, speaking and all of the things that we use our senses for, has put us in a situation where there's a lot of habitual behavior. But the second type of sanskars are beliefs that I believe in myself or I don't believe myself. And this is basically the bridge between stop being a lamb and becoming a lion is belief. It is proper self-belief. I believe that I am the one that Baba is going to accompany. I am the one. Baba's made me his instrument for a certain service, and I can't let him down, just as he never lets me down. So Baba's with me, and that's the sort of, that belief helps me to face any situation, and I don't mind anything. But if I find myself running away or avoiding, that sort of, avoidance is a clear signal that I've gone back to being a lamb. Taking on something and facing it, facing up to the responsibility that's involved in what I do, is very, very. It's important because this is Baba's work. It's not my work. And this is the sort of thing that, if I want to build confidence, let me face something. Let me take something on. I think everyone who first started giving courses, I don't know anyone who was not afraid or shy or timid when they first started to give courses or talks for Baba. But you just have one experience of Baba using you as an instrument, that's enough. You know it. You know it. And that for me is the biggest basis of self-respect, is the feeling that Baba can use me as an instrument to do his work. And of course that opens up. Okay, I'm doing God's work, so where will he take me? He won't be to the places that I want to go. In fact, I've seen that the greatest surrender is to give up our own preferences. Building confidence absolutely means that I have to leave a comfort zone. A comfort zone is a set of beliefs that are sort of comfortable. Now let me leave what's comfortable and do what Baba wants. That's the bridge between the lamb and the lion. Okay? So anyone want to say anything or ask anything?
Oh, thank you so much, Brother Ken. It was really powerful, your sharing. I think everyone wants to hear you continue saying your sharings because you're an example for us. And sometimes I feel that I'm talking about myself, that probably we don't have so much faith in Baba, and we don't believe that's why we become a lamb. And of course, you had the experiences with Baba, uh, and even myself, I had experience with Baba. I didn't have a personal message, but I still think that sometimes there's so many weaknesses that have to do with not really believing in the self. And probably our faith in Baba is not that strong as it is your faith. And especially new students who haven't even met Bab Dada and just listen to the Murli and okay, they don't have experiences. How those new ones can experience Baba as you experienced Baba? Because now I don't think they have experiences. They have their teacher, and probably as a teacher, maybe I'm not giving this faith. I don't communicate to the others as you communicated with us your experiences. How can we help those souls have some experience?
I think if you look around you, if you look at the services happening where you are, and if you look for what is needed, I remember Didi Mohini, because of course, being in the Americas, working very closely with her, and now she's the head of our organization. If someone came to her and said, how can I discover what I'm supposed to do in service? Because it's in service that we'll develop courage. Of course, it's by using our talents for Baba's work and seeing them come to a positive result that we gain confidence. It's also at a more subtle level. Let's say we have some defect, and if I make a decision not to do something, and I'm victorious in that, that will also give me confidence. So I would suggest for everyone, have a look around you. Just look around you. Just a minute, I'll get some water. What's needed? What is needed in the service around you? At home, what do you need to do differently and positively? What do you need to do at your work? What do you need to do in the center or through the center? What does the center need? If I organize myself to do what's needed, It's as easy as that. Then I will discover that Baba will use me as an instrument. But if I'm just thinking about my own needs, there won't be enough space for Baba to get his needs expressed. So I have to look around me, open my eyes, open my ears, see what's going on. What can I do to make things better at home, at work, in the center, in my community? There's something I can do. And if I step up to attend to that need, Baba will definitely use me because that's his work. And if Baba uses me once, he can use me a second time, a third time, or he will continue. But if I ignore what's needed, then Baba will look for someone else to help. And Baba will say this to step up to do what's needed is an act of courage. And Baba will say, if the child has courage, I will help. I will give 100 times help. But I have to step up to do what's needed. There's a difference between what's needed and what's wanted. What I want and what I need may be two different things. What the center wants and what the center needs may be two different things. But think about needs. What are the spiritual needs of the souls around me? And how can I help them? Maybe I can't help them through words because they don't believe my words, but I can help them through vibrations. I can help them through example. So if I'm organizing myself to help, Baba will help me. And that's how I get these experiences. Otherwise, who's going to do it if I don't? Somebody says, if you give the experience, you will personify Baba. It's actually not a question, it's just a comment.
Okay. Yes, yes, what you shared is very, very interesting, and I really have felt this. I was very shy, but then Baba used me for many things, and he's still using me. But there are also karmic accounts. What about the karmic accounts? You're in a group, and their karmic accounts, even now, that we know that I mean, the end is very close. We don't know exactly when it would be, but how do we deal with the karmic accounts? We are there, of course, in order to clear ourselves, but how do we deal with that?
In fact, our interaction with the world, at whatever level, there will be a giving and taking. So I have to be careful that when I interact with people, I'm not just interacting from my own ego, because that will just perpetuate or make the karmic account continue. Now, if I start to remember Baba while I'm speaking to someone or interacting with someone, then there won't be any giving and taking because it's Baba who's giving to the soul and not me. And so if they have to take something, they have to take it from God. But this is a very subtle thing, very subtle thing. But if you look at the people around you, 100% of the people that you interact with, there'll be some karmic account. Otherwise, why are you with this one and not with that one? Baba, I asked Daddy Janky once, but if I'm in Brazil, is it a karmic account? She said, if you're really in the consciousness of doing Baba's service, there's no karmic account because Baba is the one giving through you, you're not giving anything to anyone. But otherwise, if you don't remember that, then you will create a karmic account. So we get tangled with others to that extent because my preferences and my desires and my understanding, they will conflict with preferences and desires and understanding of others and that's where karmic accounts become more difficult because I can't get along with someone because they think differently, they feel differently, they see things differently. And so, of course they will. It's no secret. Everyone has their own part to play in the drama. So let me understand this from a higher point of view. if I want to continue getting stuck into the giving and taking with human beings, then I can just have to continue acting from my ego. But if I start to act as Baba's instrument while I'm doing things and interacting with others, I'm not creating any karmic account. In fact, I'm helping those souls create their own fortune. And so this is the difference between being soul conscious and acting as Baba's instrument and being body conscious and acting from your own ego. There's a big difference. So if I want to really solve karmic accounts, I have to start being soul conscious and an instrument. There's no other solution. That's it. And by having that experience of Baba using me, then I stop being a lamb and start becoming a lion, a real lion.
Yes, thank you. I don't see any questions, or there's something. It's not a question, I think. It's in Spanish.
Uh,
In reading.
it says good experiences to follow this example and to stop being lamb and become sheep with the Baba's hands and with decisive power, decision power.
Yeah,
That's what it says.
okay. I think there are not any other questions. In Greece, we had, of course, Brother Anthony, who was really a powerful instrument, and he gave us so much experiences, and he was an example for us. But then, yes, now we know that the end is coming, and I have noticed that sometimes, instead of doing the effort, uh, then we do things that are against what Baba says. So that means that we don't trust the drama, we don't trust Baba, we don't trust ourselves. So how can we trust all these, the drama? We don't have much time. We only have 3 minutes, but you can tell us, how can we trust everything? Probably we don't have enough faith in any of these. How can we gain this faith?
I think the only way you can gain faith is by doing something. For example, this exercise that I was saying, the attention on the sense organs, for example, and this week is about having attention on the mouth as an instrument of speaking. So yesterday was not to say anything useless. So yesterday people were making the effort not to say anything useless, to only allow jewels to come out of the mouth, for example. And you can do it. And today the attention was on food, so not to just to really pay attention to the basic. If you're going to eat, the way you prepare the food, you give drishti before you eat it. You take some water, you give drishti to the water. If you make these little efforts, you're gaining power little by little throughout the whole day. But it's not just a big thing. I don't believe the destruction may happen today, right? But I have to be ready for whatever happens. So I'm not concerned about the destruction. I'm concerned about paying attention to what's happening around me and doing as much as I can in soul consciousness. That's it. I mean, and then I'll enjoy the day. I will enjoy the power that I accumulate in just one day by doing these little things. Somebody's asking if we can get access to these effort on the sense organs. Yeah, we can try. Actually, we're doing it in all of Latin America. So all of the 17 countries we're doing. So I can get it translated into English. Why not? There's someone called Oldies.
We'll do those.
Aldous.
Yes.
So if I send it to Yogesh, do I have? In fact, I've got somebody's. Who is the moderator of this beside you? There was someone else.
No, but you
Like
can send it to Yogesh. You can send it to Yogesh. That could be good.
I can send it to Yogesh, and he can do because it's really simple. It does not require any extra time. It just requires a different attention. So
Exactly.
people are afraid to have new and more programs that will consume more time. No, it's just redirecting our attention. And we can go forward just by putting our attention on the right things. And we'll go backwards just by putting our attention on the wrong things. That's basic. That's it. That's the secret.